Y&R Spoilers reveal Phyllis's daring plans. She is going through one of the most stressful and complicated periods of her life, when feelings of betrayal and anger are at their peak. Being fired from AbbottCom, the company that has been with her and nurtured her career for many years, is like a strong blow to her self-esteem. That leads to hatred, making Phyllis come up with a plan to kidnap Sally, trying to threaten revenge on Billy. She wants Billy to live in fear and anxiety for kicking her out of the company. Phyllis is not only disappointed but also secretly thinks that a more sinister hand is behind this incident, Sally. She is sure that Sally is plotting to use every means to steal the position that she deserves to hold, and this is the root cause of her losing her job. This anger has blinded her, making her determined not to let anyone who has pushed her into this tragic situation go. Not wanting to sit idly by, Phyllis decided to act secretly and cautiously. She secretly took the phone of her ex-lover Billy, who she had once trusted with all her heart, to look for clues and opportunities for revenge. One of the most valuable pieces of information she had was the contact number of Aristotle Dumas, a powerful and influential figure in the business and media world. Phyllis did not hesitate to contact Dumas, in her mind forming a plan that could shake the worlds of Billy and Victor, the two most powerful men she had ever been involved with. Phyllis's goal was not simply to get justice for herself, but also to defeat her opponent by exploiting every weakness she could. During her contact with Dumas, she began to propose a sophisticated strategy to defeat both Billy and Victor at the same time, shaking their stability and power. However, Phyllis still had a deep internal conflict. She hates Victor for his painful past and the pain he has caused her, but she also realizes that her anger is directed more towards Billy and Sally at the moment. This causes Phyllis to put aside her hatred for Victor, at least for the time being, to focus on their common goal. The temporary cooperation between Phyllis and Victor, although reluctant, has an important strategic meaning. Phyllis not only reveals negative information about Billy to Victor, but also provides details about Billy's plan to build and develop AbbottCom. These secrets can seriously damage Billy's reputation as well as the business project he is pursuing with Sally. Thanks to that, Victor can use this information as a powerful weapon to ask Adam Newman, a powerful ally in the media, to publicly reveal Billy's shortcomings, even exposing Billy's plan publicly and fiercely. If Phyllis cannot return to AbbottCom directly to reclaim her position, she can still play an important role in sabotaging the company from the very beginning. This not only damages Billy's project but also destroys his and Sally's image, causing them to fall into turmoil in the business and social world. Phyllis realizes this is an opportunity for her to both take revenge and regain her power and position in an unexpected way. All of Phyllis's moves are planned and purposeful. From burning anger, she turns to a state of cold calculation, taking advantage of all her opponent's relationships and weaknesses to create an advantage. Her plan is not simply personal revenge but also a calculated strategic game between the powerful forces in Genoa City. Her temporary alliance with Victor doesn't overshadow her past hatred for him, but it shows that Phyllis knows when to put her feelings aside for the greater good. Meanwhile, Billy and Sally, unaware of the fact that behind their backs, a conspiracy is slowly taking shape and is being deployed in a sophisticated manner. Phyllis is like a cunning fox in the game of power, ready to strike fatal blows at the weaknesses that she deeply understands from the inside. The story is not over yet, and the war between the factions in Genoa City is becoming more and more fierce, full of intrigue and surprise. The story of Phyllis, Billy, Sally, Victor, and Dumas is not simply about power and work. It is also a story of betrayal, hatred, greed, and wisdom in taking back what was once taken away. From the calculated steps, from the hidden plots in the dark, a new scenario of the battle of wits, the uncompromising struggle is being written, promising to bring great shocks and unprecedented dramatic details in the Genoa City business world. Phyllis is no longer just standing outside the game, she has officially entered the center of this life and death battle, ready to make those who once looked down on her pay a heavy price. The undercurrents of power, ambition, and hatred were still constantly surging. After years of loss and betrayal, Phyllis thought she had built a thick enough shell to withstand all the storms, but this time, when Billy coldly dismissed her from AbbottCom, her anger and humiliation flared up more fiercely than ever. Phyllis was not only angry because Billy, who had worked alongside her many times in both work and personal life, had mercilessly fired her, but also because she was sure that Sally had played an important role in arranging for her to lose everything. For Phyllis, it was an insult, a stab deep into the pride and courage that had always been her support throughout her journey to conquer the business world. Instead of sinking into despair or resentment, Phyllis chose to fight back. It was a survival instinct that was ingrained in her blood, a strong motivation that urged her not to give up. With the agility of an experienced old fox, Phyllis silently planned a counterattack. Not only to regain her position but also to defeat all those who dared to look down on, betray or hurt her. In Phyllis's mind, Billy was no longer her old partner or the man she once trusted, but now just an uncompromising opponent. As for Sally, to her, she was an opportunist, willing to use any means to climb to the top, and this made Phyllis despise her even more, determined not to let it go. In a moment of calculation, Phyllis secretly took Billy's phone, a reckless but necessary action to track down connections that could become the key to opening a new battle. When she saw the name Aristotle Dumas in the contact list, Phyllis's intuition told her that this was an opportunity not to be missed. Dumas, a mysterious businessman with a wide network of influence, was the type of person she could use as a springboard for her revenge plan. It didn't take long for Phyllis to contact Dumas, cleverly suggesting the possibility of working together to fight not only Billy but also Victor, the two most powerful men in the city that no one dared to confront directly. Once everything was in place, Phyllis began to act like a veteran chess player. Not only did she propose to Dumas a bold plan to take down Billy and Victor at the same time, but she also took advantage of her already hostile relationship with Victor to expand her own interests. Despite having had many fierce conflicts, even hating Victor to the point of not wanting to mention his name, Phyllis was still sober enough to realize that at this time, the enemy of her enemy was sometimes her friend. In her mind, the resentment towards Billy and Sally now far outweighs the hurt Victor has caused, and that is what urges Phyllis to temporarily put aside the past, choosing to cooperate with Victor as a strategic move to defeat common opponents. With her inherent wisdom and courage, Phyllis skillfully approached Victor, trying to share negative information, even internal secrets that she knew about Billy and AbbottCom's development plans. She painted before Victor a picture of an ambitious but also vulnerable Billy, vulnerable to the risky choices he was making. Not only that, Phyllis also mentioned the dangerous influence of Sally, arguing that this young girl was not only a manipulator of Billy, but could also threaten Victor's long-term interests if not controlled or eliminated soon. Phyllis's persuasion hit Victor right in the gut, his ego, his desire for control, and his obsession with protecting the Newman empire from all risks, especially the machinations of unforeseen rivals. Realizing this was an opportunity not to be missed, Victor immediately considered his next steps. He did not hesitate to order Adam Newman, his right-hand man and media manipulator, to use the information provided by Phyllis to nip AbbottCom in the bud. Adam, with his cold and sharp nature, knew exactly what to do to turn every negative detail about Billy, Sally, and the new company into a media bomb, shaking their reputation in the market and in front of the public. Meanwhile, Phyllis continued to raise the stakes. If she could not return to AbbottCom with her own ability and dedication, she would make those who had pushed her aside pay the price. The plan to cooperate with Victor is not simply to damage AbbottCom, but also a way to punish all those who dare to despise and betray her. With each carefully calculated step, Phyllis plays the role of the ghost behind the changes and the one who stirs up the storm of rage, putting Billy and Sally in a dangerous situation they never expected. However, these calculations also put Phyllis in danger. She realized that cooperating with Victor was like playing with fire, because Victor always put his own interests above all else, and did not hesitate to eliminate allies once they were no longer valuable. However, Phyllis was not afraid. She had overcome countless storms, had been pushed to the wall, so she was more courageous and ready to face any betrayal, whether it came from Victor or Dumas. In another development, Billy and Sally gradually realized the signs of instability in AbbottCom's operations. They felt like there was an invisible hand controlling everything, causing important contracts to be constantly delayed, partners to turn their backs, and the media to constantly attack. Suspicion arose, but they could not have imagined that Phyllis herself, who had fought side by side and was a victim in this power game, was the author of the series of difficult days they had to go through. The naivety of thinking that just getting rid of a trouble was enough has now become a high price for their complacency. As for Victor, he also did not easily put his full trust in Phyllis. He always secretly monitored her every move, while directing Adam to search and verify every source of information to ensure that he was always the one taking the initiative. With a suspicious and experienced nature, Victor understood that temporary alliances like this only exist when there are common interests, and sooner or later, everyone will reveal their true nature. But he accepted the risk, because more than anyone else, Victor always enjoyed the feeling of being in control of the game, controlling everyone like chess pieces on the vast chessboard of Genoa City. The deeper the game went, the more Phyllis showed the danger of a woman who had been cornered. Not only did she stir up a new wave of power struggles, but she also brought about a series of unforeseen consequences, pushing the forces in the city into a series of unprecedentedly tense confrontations. For Phyllis, this was not only a battle to regain her honor, but also the ultimate test of her strength, determination, and sharp intelligence in an ever-changing and dangerous world. The story did not end there, because every move, every decision in this game carried the seeds of betrayal, revenge, and the hope of starting over. Phyllis understood that she was betting everything, but she had nothing left to lose. For her, this victory was not only about regaining her position, but also about asserting herself a strong woman who would never succumb to any force, be it Billy, Sally, Victor, or Aristotle Dumas. And then, the city of Genoa will witness many more uncompromising battles of wits and strength, where the strong not only survive but also must control their own destiny. Unexpected alliances and conflicting relationships are constantly forming and breaking up, creating countless storms and silent waves that only the most experienced people are sober enough to recognize. In the crisis after being pushed out of AbbottCom by Billy, Phyllis was like a wounded animal, ready to use any means to not only take revenge but also regain her position on the chessboard of power. At this time, an unexpected offer from Victor appeared, opening up a dangerous but also potential turn before her eyes. Victor has always been the one who knows how to attract capable people to his side at the right time, especially those who are at a turning point in their lives, when their self-esteem and will are extremely damaged. In a calm but calculating tone, Victor proposed a deal. Phyllis should temporarily forget about past personal grudges, cooperate with him to deal with a common enemy, Kyle, and at the same time achieve separate goals. Victor skillfully paints a picture of a force that is secretly hindering the interests of both, emphasizing that if they work together, they can control the situation and eliminate obstacles on the way back to the top. At first, Phyllis hesitates, because her hatred of Victor in the past is not easy to fade, but the lure of power, the promise of a sweet victory over Kyle, whom she once wanted to protect but witnessed him becoming increasingly cold, distant, even cruel to Summer, overwhelms everything. Besides, Victor also encourages Phyllis to coordinate with a new ally, Audra Charles, who is famous for her intrigue and ability to manipulate psychology. The Phyllis-Audra couple, under Victor's direction, can become a real nightmare for Kyle and Claire Newman, pushing them into personal and family crises with no way out. Victor cunningly analyzed that, in order to protect the family's long-term interests, he could not let Kyle continue to give in to Claire. The growing closeness and attachment between Kyle and Claire was the reason why Summer felt left out, forcing her to leave Genoa for Italy to heal her broken heart. Victor argued that if he could pressure Kyle to return to Summer as she wished, everything would change dramatically. Summer would stay, the Marchetti problem would be solved, and the Newman-Abbott family would also avoid a major emotional conflict. Phyllis listened to Victor's every analysis, her heart filled with turmoil. She understood better than anyone Summer's love and pride, the pain her daughter had experienced when she witnessed Kyle's coldness, distance, and even seemingly retaliation by becoming increasingly close to Claire, who had been supported by the Newman family, but had always been a thorn in Phyllis's side. The helplessness of seeing her daughter hurt only pushes Phyllis deeper into this game, even though she knows that she will have to sacrifice a lot, including her own principles. Under Victor's secret instructions, Phyllis approaches Audra. At first, the two women find it difficult to find common ground because each is experienced in tricks and accustomed to being at the center of plans. However, under Victor's pressure, they are forced to coordinate, share information and make detailed plans to separate Kyle and Claire. Audra uses her influence and dark connections in the media to spread rumors about the instability in Kyle's relationship, raising doubts about Claire's true motives for approaching him. At the same time, Phyllis does not hesitate to exploit Kyle's psychological weaknesses, guilt about Summer having to leave Genoa, fear of losing her position in the family, as well as the pressure from the Abbott legacy that he always tries to preserve. At the same time, Victor focused on making Summer see a way back. As long as Kyle took the initiative to hold on, admit his mistakes and open up again, she would not have to leave Marchetti, the company that Summer considered flesh and blood. This would not only help Victor consolidate his position in the corporation but also maintain a more stable family alliance, avoiding Newman and Abbott from falling into an unwanted confrontation. But for Victor, every action is aimed at serving ultimate power and personal position. There is no room for weak feelings or concessions. Meanwhile, the escalating tension between Kyle and Claire became more evident than ever. Kyle began to feel the unnamed undercurrents around him, rumors of an affair, scrutinizing eyes, and even the feeling of insecurity that he seemed to be being manipulated. Claire, who was originally a strong-willed person, gradually showed cracks under pressure from both the Newman family and outside influences. Kyle feels like he's stuck between two choices: either keep his love for Claire but lose Summer, or sacrifice his personal feelings to heal the rift between his family and the corporation. With the emergence of the Phyllis-Victor-Audra alliance, the psychological and power struggle between the major forces in Genoa City has entered a new page. The plots to divide, manipulate and overthrow are hidden under the guise of kindness, family and love, but everyone understands that just a small mistake, everything will explode into tragedy. Each character wonders, when the curtain of power falls, will they still retain their true ego and feelings for each other, or are they all just tools on the chessboard that Victor is holding? But for Phyllis, this is the time for her to prove her mettle and sharpness. If she succeeds, she will not only regain her honor and position in the family but also make the biggest mark on her journey of survival in the heart of Genoa City. If she fails, she will face isolation, loss and even danger, but that is the price she is willing to pay to never become a victim again. Because in this city, only those strong enough, cunning enough and willing to take risks can write their own destiny. In the following days, Phyllis could find ways to harass Christine with many sophisticated tricks. Sometimes she quietly appeared at Danny's workplace, pretending to accidentally meet him, bringing up old memories. Sometimes she intentionally spread rumors about Christine and Danny's rift in the media. Phyllis's persistence, stubbornness and even despair were like an impenetrable wall, making both Danny and Christine, who were used to her troubles, still feel pressured and tired. However, Phyllis was not completely unreasonable or destructive. Deep in her soul was an unspeakable pain, a fragile hope that one day, Danny would realize what she had sacrificed, the pain she had suffered just because she loved him. She wanted to be listened to, accepted and most importantly loved for who she was, not some other perfect version. With the return of Christine and Danny, Phyllis's peaceful days are once again turned upside down. But this time, she refuses to back down, refuses to be an outsider, even if the price is isolation, hatred or pain. Because for Phyllis, life only has true meaning when she lives to the fullest with passion, love and even irreparable mistakes. And then, on the brightly lit stage of Nikki's birthday party, where Claire tries to create a beautiful memory for the whole family, the chaotic notes of a love triangle that has never subsided resound. Phyllis, Danny, and Christine are once again caught up in a fateful dance, where there is no room for perfection, but only unformed desires, unresolved obsessions, and loneliness that is always waiting to drown everything.